Hello and welcome to a new episode of Experiencing Infdev Plus. So, if you watched my first two live streams, you might have noticed that I've unlocked all of the remaining advancements. I've unlocked the Adventure Time advancement and also the on-rail advancement. Originally, I was planning to do something about the rail that I have built while unlocking the on-rail advancement. I was planning to build like a stations at both ends. However, the minecarts in Infdev Plus are still flawed, so I don't really feel like doing that. So instead, I decided to do some gardening, kind of like in the last episode. So the plans for this episode is that I'm gonna work on these three areas, where in this area I'm gonna have some lush grass with a custom jungle tree and maybe a custom mahogany tree. In this area I'm gonna have some dry grass with a custom Baobab tree and custom Acacia tree. And in this area I'm gonna have some mycelium with some custom mushrooms. And maybe if I still have some time, I'm gonna try building a big oak tree over here. We'll see about that. Anyway, to start, I'm gonna replace all the regular grass with the other grass types, and then and then start working on the trees and decorations. So, as you can see, I have successfully replaced all of the regular grass with the new grass, and I've also collected some materials that I'm going to need for building the trees that I plan to build. Anyway, I'm going to start by working on the area with the lush grass by building a custom jungle tree of sorts. I haven't really done this before, so it's gonna be a first for me. I've decided that I'm gonna build a 2x2 tree that won't be entirely straight. So I'll go a few blocks up like this. Like so. Then make it go to the side a bit. I'm gonna get rid of these blocks later. Anyway. Maybe like this should be fine. As for the height, I think I can check using the photo mode. And I feel like I'm gonna play around with it a bit and then show you the result. Anyway, after playing around with it for a bit, I ended up with this. I ended up adding some blocks in some places to make it slightly thicker, to make the transition kind of smoother, hopefully. I've also added some fences as decoration and also some roots to make it more interesting. So now I'm gonna move on to placing some leaves at the top. So for the treetop, I have decided to have it kind of resemble the treetop of a jungle tree. So to have it kind of flat at the bottom and round at the top. So I'm gonna build a few blocks to the side. Maybe like 4 could be good. I think This sort of size seems good when looking at it from the bottom. Of course, I'm gonna add more to this tree. I plan to have some branches that will go off to the side, but for now I'm gonna continue working on the top by adding some more layers to it, and also by replacing some of the jungle leaves with bamboo leaves and palm leaves to add some more texture to it, to make it slightly more interesting, since I feel like they fit together well. Anyway, I'm gonna continue working on this and show you the progress. And here's the sort of thing that I had in mind. As you can see, it resembles a large jungle tree if it was made a bit more natural, I think. Anyway, I feel like the tree top looks a bit too perfect, so I'm gonna add some variation to it so it looks more natural. And I'm also going to add some bit of decoration on the other side, with some logs and fences to make it look like there are sort of branches connecting to tree top. So, as you can see, I have added some leaves that are hanging from the bottom, and also removed some leaves from the middle. Anyway, now I'm going to work on the branches that are going to be the side. So I think out here could be good height for the branch. Maybe about this far. So now I'm going to try make it sort of similar shape to the treetop, but sort of smaller. One thing that I just remembered that I forgot to add were the leaf piles. So I'm gonna add some of those to this tree to make it a bit more interesting. Anyway, here's the tree after I add the branch and some of the leaf piles. I'd say it looks a lot better now. So now we're just gonna add another branch and maybe add some details to it, like some vines. And I think it should be finished then. So then I'm gonna move on to the other trees. So as you can see, I have finished the jungle tree. I've added some lamps as decoration and for light. You can, for example, think of them as some fruit maybe hanging off the tree. And I've also added some vines, which will eventually grow out more. I might remove some of them if I decide that there's too much. I was planning to do a mahogany tree after this, but I haven't yet decided how I want to build the tree, so I've decided to build a baobab tree next instead. Or well, it might not look exactly like real life baobab tree, but it should look good. So I'm gonna start off with plus shape, which I'm gonna make 8 blocks tall. After that I'm gonna add some more logs at the top like so, and with some branches kind of like this. Each of these branches will have some leaves on top like so. And after that I'm gonna add some trapdoors at the top like so. I think it looks better this way. And now I will move on to the bottom part, which I will make kind of thicker, kind of like this, and add some more logs to the side. Sort of randomly. So I end up with something like this. I've also added some fences, sort of make it smoother, kind of, and some trapdoors. Now I'm gonna move on to the top. First add some trapdoors. I think it looks nice like that. And to finish it, I'm gonna add a few more blocks to the top. Maybe kind of like this. And one here. One here as well, and two here with a two. And trapdoors. I think it looks kind of nice like this. I think it turned out well, so now I'm gonna move on to some acacia trees. And now it is time to move on to the acacia trees. I decided that my acacia trees will simply be small versions of the regular ones. So the first one will replace, for example, here. Here I think will be a good location. Up. Then have it split. So if another one going like so, higher. So, and then add some leaves. I decided to use both leaves from acacia and ancient oaks to add a bit more texture to it. Do this. And then add sort of plus on the top. The same for the other branch. And in the end I end up with something like this. I think it resembles the regular acacia trees quite well. So now I'm going to build a second one, which shall be slightly different from this one. So I have built a second acacia tree, as you can see, and now to finish them off I'm gonna add some leaf piles to the top to add some bit more detail to them. So now that I've finished building the second tree, I'm gonna move on to decorating this place. I'm gonna start by making a acacia bush that will also serve as a light source, which is why I'm placing these glowstone blocks here. I don't think they should be too noticeable. Anyway, I'm gonna make the bush out of the same leaves as I did the custom trees. I think this sort of shape should be nice. And this is a good size, so I'm gonna keep it like that probably. Anyway, after this I would also like to add a baobab tree, a baobab bush to the baobab tree, but I'm gonna need to grab some baobab leaves first. Anyway, I'm gonna add to this tree So gonna place some leaves there, get rid of the fence since I don't need it, and also of course place some tall grass here. And once I'm done with this place, I'm gonna show you and then move on to the mushroom place that I have over there. Now that I'm done with the savanna place, it is time to start working on the mushroom place. So I'm gonna start by placing some large mushrooms in these sort of places, sort of three corners, since this place looks kind of like a triangle. I'm gonna start by placing a closed room here. I think this is a good place for it. After that I'm gonna place a red mushroom, but I'm gonna place it on a dirt block first to make it slightly taller. I want a slightly taller one. I just need to replace the dirt block with the stem block. And once I'm done with that, I'm gonna move on to the brown mushroom, which will be like in here. Maybe here. That's a good place. Yeah, that looks good. And I'm moving on to other stuff. Now that I've grown the large mushrooms, it is time to move on to other stuff. I've decided that as decoration I'm gonna have sort of smaller mushrooms that I'm gonna build all over the place. Starting with red mushroom that will look sort of like this, and have some shroom lights or light that you won't really see since they will be covered up. Basically something like this. I think it looks nice. I will also have a sort of small closed room, which I think could go here. Once again, it will be similar design to the red mushroom, just placing some shroom lights, and then the closed room caps on top of them. And last but not least, a brown mushroom, which I think, yeah, I forgot those blocks. Anyway, I think I'll place the brown mushroom here. It should be, well, it will have a simple design, nothing special, but I think it looks nice. Anyway, now I'm going to place some more and then show you the results. Now that I've finished building the smaller mushrooms, it is time to move on to other decoration stuff. So originally I was planning to use these empty spaces for some sort of medium-sized mushrooms. However, I have decided against it, and instead I'm going to build some sort of boulders to be placed in there instead of the mushrooms. And so I'm going to start building them now. So I decided to use some stone, cobblestone and ash to build them. First I'm going to build a sort of 3x3 pattern using stone and cobblestone. So we'll also have glowstone in the middle as to serve as a light source that I shall cover with some ash, since I feel like the ash goes well with stone and cobblestone. I'm gonna add a bit more to add some details, like so. I think that looks good and it fits well together. So in the end I went up with something like this. I think it looks good, and it also serves as light source. And not when I'm done with that, I'm gonna add some more to these places. I will probably make them slightly different from this one, since I don't want them all the same size and shape. So I'm gonna work on them and then show you the results of my work. I think it will look nice as this. So here is one of the boulders that I've built. And here is the second one. I think they turned out quite well. Say, they seem to fit here nicely. So now that I'm done with that, I'm gonna move on to the second thing that I wanted to do, which is to place in some more mushrooms, red ones and some brown ones, since I've already placed in some glow shrooms. So I need these to add more variety. And after I'm done with that, I'm gonna move on to the lush grass area and build the mangrove tree, since I've already come up with an idea as to how it will look. Anyway, now I will just continue placing in the mushrooms and then move on to the other stuff. So now that I'm done with the mushrooms, I'm gonna move on to making the mahogany tree. I think I'm gonna build it somewhere over here. It should be a good place. I think over here I'm gonna start by making a plus shape and making it several blocks taller. After that, I'm gonna move slightly to the side and make it kind of curved and go up a bit, maybe a bit more up, and then a bit more to the side, I think. Kind of like this should be good. Maybe not like this. I think, yeah, this should be better. And then to the side once more, till I think I'm high enough. So just a few blocks more and then make it thinner at the top. End up with something like this. I think something like this should be good. So I'm gonna dirt and move on. So now that I'm done with the trunk, I'm gonna move on to building some branches. It will sort of randomly go to the sides. Kind of like so. That is, if I don't stop falling. Anyway, I'm making them like this because I've noticed that the mahogany trees sort of at the branches splitting off at the top, unlike the acacia trees which split sort of close to the bottom. Now that I'm done with the branches, I'm gonna start working on the leaves at the top. I've decided for the shape that I'm gonna go to make it sort of round with sort of flatter bottom, since that kind of resembles the mahogany trees. Anyway, I'm gonna start by climbing to the top, and of course I'm gonna use mahogany trees, acacia leaves and mangrove leaves, since they sort of seem to fit together nicely. I'll start by placing the leaves around the branches and then just continue from there. Anyway, it should make sense once I'm finished. At least if I don't stop falling. And after I've finished placing the leaves, I end up with something like this, which I think looks somewhat good. So as the last thing, I'm gonna add some details to this thing by placing some fences maybe, and also adding sort of some roots here and there to make it more interesting. the tree is now complete, so now I'm going to move on to decorating the stuff below it. The first thing that I've decided to do is to make a small pond underneath these trees to make this area slightly more unique compared to the others. So I'm gonna take it out and replace some of the earth and cobblestone with mud, which better fits in. So here is the sort of shape and size that I decided to go for, and now I just need to fill it up with water, which hopefully shouldn't take too much time, and maybe place them here and here. While I was at it, I decided to also grab some sugar cane here, and this would be good. So I'm going to maybe make some shrubs and stuff, so I'm gonna put this stuff away and grab materials for making shrubs. And while I was out there to grab some materials for the shrubs, I decided to also grab some bamboo so I could add this to this place. So I think over here, for example, is a good place for some bamboo, so I could plant it. Have it go a bit higher. This sort of height is good. Then place some leaves on top of it. And sort of round it, kind of like so. So I'm gonna add the bamboo to some other places. Sure about it, but I think it should be fine since it's sort of more hidden. So I'm gonna try doing some more and maybe those will be better. And now that I've finished placing in the bamboo, I'm gonna continue by placing in some shrubs, some bushes and some other stuff. So I think the first one could maybe be here. I will also place in some glowstone for light. I think it shouldn't be too visible, and just make something similar to what I did in with the acacia shrubs. And have this sort of shape and size. Like that. Along with that, I also replace some of the lush grass with this flower stems, since I feel like these kind of fit well with the lush grass. Kind of say different texture, but still kind of looks like it's part of the grass. And of course, I'll also use some fertilizer to get some taller grass in here. So I'm gonna continue doing that and then show you the result. So now that I've finished placing in the grass and other stuff, there is only one last thing that I would like to do, which is to place in some russet tall grass among the lush tall grass. Outside of that, this project will be finished, or well, this part of the project, since originally I was planning to do something over here with like temperate biomes, so place in some maybe aspen trees and stuff. However, I decided to not to do it for now, and instead I'll be building a large oak tree. However, before I do that, I will of course do the grass thing, clean up some of the things that I don't need here anymore, and maybe get some more materials, and then I'll move onto the tree and build as much of it as I can so that the episode isn't too long. Anyway, I'll finish up this thing and then we'll start working on that. So, moving on. In the previous clip I said that I would build the giant tree now, but I feel like this episode is already long enough, so we'll leave it to the next episode. Anyway, instead of that, I have decided to take a look once again at the garden that I've built in this episode and previous episode. So, in this episode, I of course built this Savanna area. I think it turned out quite well. In the Acacia trees look nice, in their smaller form. And we also got this custom Baobab tree that doesn't quite resemble a Baobab tree. A bit kind of does, but well, it's up to you to decide. And we got this thing, which I don't think it really resembles any biome. The closest biome might be the snowless taiga. I think it's also turned out quite well. It's probably my favorite item. Oh, my favorite, maybe with the lush grass area, which I think looks really nice, especially with the small pond that I've made. And it's just, I think, the biggest out of the 4 areas. Not sure if the Shroomland area is bigger than this one, or this one is bigger than the Shroomland area. Anyway, I think it turned out well, in my opinion. And last but not least, of course, I built the front area. I think the boulders added quite a bit to it, since I feel like probably wouldn't be as interesting without them. And I also like I use the shroom lights to add light. I think that's nice. Makes it look like the mushrooms are glowing. Anyway, I think that I've done everything that I wanted to do in this episode, and in the next episode we'll be doing the tree over here, and after that I have decided to build a tower somewhere in that direction. If we go up, one block that I got some time ago, so it should be somewhere. I'll be building a tower somewhere in that direction, since this tower no longer reaches to the height limit. Height limit used to be 256, but it's now 320. So I want to have a tower that reaches to the height limit. I already have some sort of plan as to what sort of tower in concrete I'll be building, but I'll leave it in the next episode. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say and do, so that'll be it for now.